Welcome everyone to CMPAC Spotlight. Tonight we have a tasty show, literally a tasty show. We're going to be talking with Tia Capers, who is the producer of My Sankofa Table. And here you can see this beautiful set of Sankofa materials from your show.
Yes.
So welcome, Miss Tia.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so glad to have you here because we have talked off camera about what you do,
Right.
about the healthy cooking, and we could just go on and on. And so I want you to tell us about Sankofa.
Okay, well, I created the show, I guess the end of last year. So we started taping, but we didn't start airing until January.
Okay.
So it's just an opportunity for me to promote health and wellness. So when I open my show, I say, you know, we're about all things health and wellness. So I thought this would be a great way to share some healthy recipes,
Right.
you know, with the audience. So that's pretty much the whole concept of it, to go back, you know, as we know, the Sankofa bird, go back and fetch what it is, you know, that was beneficial to us and bring it forth,
Right.
you know, to do good. So,
Right. And I love that what you say in your open, you say that very thing in your
Yes.
open. And just the fact that you have a show, because, you know, we've been urging you to, you know, bring this
Yeah,
to this
years.
platform. Yes. And it's so good that you do because lots of people need to hear this and they need to understand how they can participate
Right.
and tap into the healthy eating.
in a non-intimidating way.
Exactly.
So I really try not to be, you know, intimidating with it and, you know, just trying to, you know, incorporate substituting, cutting
Right.
back, cutting out, just stressing those things. Yes.
Well, Tia, how did you even come to tap in yourself to healthy eating? How, when, why?
Well, it started about 5.5 years ago.
Okay.
I learned about Dr. Sebi, and I started watching all these videos and, you know, watching all the things he was, you know, telling us about in terms of hybrid food,
Right.
electrical foods, foods that are acidic, food that cause mucus and disease and
yes.
stuff like that. And so the more I learned, I thought, well, you know what, I think I want to make a difference in my own life.
Right.
And as a result, I've been an example to other people. So my
Yeah.
vegan lifestyle has now transitioned to me helping other people,
Right.
you know, while I'm helping myself.
Yes, this, you know what, Tia, I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, but I remember being out at the farmer's market one weekend and I pulled over and I was trying to call someone and up popped Dr. Sebi, his video.
Wow.
Yeah, on
Yeah.
YouTube. And I'm like, you know, what's going on? And so I listened to it and specifically about the mucus.
Yes.
That was on the video that popped up. And I needed to hear that.
Right.
Because inflammation, mucus is attributed to inflammation.
Right.
And all of the gut, leaky gut and all that. He was talking about that.
Yeah, a lot of disease. Yep, dis-ease.
Right.
And what I've realized is that a lot of, you know, some illnesses is a direct, you know, result of what we're eating, what
Right.
we're controlling, what we're making a decision about putting in our bodies.
Exactly.
So I'm trying to help people to be more intentional about, you know, what we put in our bodies. I mean, if you want your body to be here for you, you got to treat it right.
Exactly.
And this is a great way to start. And I'm not saying everybody should just become vegan, but I'm just saying everybody needs to make a change.
Right.
Even I still have room to grow with my lifestyle.
Yeah, we all do. Because, you know, people can pull this program up or this interview up
Right.
anywhere online.
Right.
But here in America, we have been taught that healthy eating is often not healthy.
Right.
Vegetables are cooked to death. And that's what we have to think about. If it's dead and you're
Right.
putting that in your body.
How beneficial is it going to be?
Exactly.
Right.
So I've seen you cook with live foods.
Yes.
And cook, which is raw, and a lot of foods that are not necessarily what the norm is
Right.
for people to use.
Right.
That is also beneficial even when you cook it.
Right. Right.
So I love it.
Yeah, because, you know, a lot of our fruits and vegetables, they're in the sun all day. They're taking in the vitamin D. They're taking in all of that stuff that we
Yes.
may not be outside getting.
Right.
So when we put those natural things in our bodies, we're getting that as a result.
That's awesome.
Yes.
You know, years ago, when I lived in Ohio, I started, no, this is before Ohio, because I'm from Charlotte. I'm from here. And even then, when I was young, teenager, I would watch a young lady named Christina Cooks.
Okay.
On Christina Perillo. Her show is Christina Cooks on PBS. And she made food look like art, like you do.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was just drawn into that. Years later, I found out she was diagnosed with terminal cancer.
Okay.
And given 6 months to live.
Wow.
And she was just going to go back to Italy and live her life. And her coworker said, no, you can't give up. Like you said, you know, this body, you want this body to work for you. You need to do something.
Yeah, and a lot of things, they don't happen overnight. You can continue to eat a certain way, but when you get older, like me, I mean, I'm 50. Full disclosure, I'm 50. But when you get older, that's when that stuff starts coming down on you because your body has taken so much of this junk over the years, over the decades. So, you know, why start when you're almost dead, you know, when there's things you can do now, today. And the point you made, I do eat with my eyes. I try to make it beautiful. I try to, you know, have a nice place setting, a nice plate, a nice colorful array of food, something I want to eat, something that invites me in. So
And our food is just that way. We don't have to even make it that way.
No.
And some of the packaged things are tampered with to make it look a certain way.
And some of the wording too, because it'll say natural, but when you turn over the back of the package and look at the ingredients, it's not so natural. So we have to be, you know, mindful of the verbiage, the words on the packaging and the pictures and stuff. So.
That's marketing, you know? Get you to buy it.
And capitalism.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. And it's good you talk about that. And Christina talked about that as well. And you'll find, you know, when she talked to her coworker about some of the live foods, he introduced her to a man that she eventually married who taught her how to eat. And it's how you cook.
Right.
And so she's still here today in her 60s.
Wow.
After eating the food.
After just making a change.
Yeah, making a change.
Right.
And who would think, right, with all we're taught. So.
Yeah. I mean, I personally have people in my family and in my circle that have cut back or even cut out certain medications, just changing the way they eat. Right. They didn't become vegan, but they just made some changes.
Right.
Yes.
See, now you touched on a point that I love about how you disseminate the information.
Yes.
You give people an option. I see you when you say, you know, you can use whatever flour you like. Right. But I use spelt flour. Right. And you tell why. Yes. And I love that because, you know, it really is about choice with everything in life. And if you choose what's going to help you. Right. And what's going to build you up. And what's going to bring life to your body.
And nourishment.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that.
Because we have options. You know, in life we have options.
That's
so
right.
I'm just trying to get people to choose a healthier option for your life.
Right.
Yeah.
And I like that fact that you make it non-intimidating. I think that's non-intimidating when you give people a choice.
Yes. Yeah. And educate them along the way and not make them feel so bad.
All right.
You know, I don't want to be like the extreme vegan here or, you know, turn people away because that could be off-putting. So I try to be inviting and tell them you can use, you know, whatever flour you have at home, but, you know, this is what I use.
Right.
Yeah. Or whatever oil or whatever salt or whatever sweetener.
Exactly.
But it gets people to think, oh, there are options. You know, like I don't have to eat the regular cane sugar. I can do agave or I can do maple syrup or I can do date sugar. I can do, you know.
Coconut sugar.
Yeah, coconut sugar.
Yes.
So.
Well, I was actually going to ask you to elaborate on the sugar because that's a huge thing.
Right.
Even when you're not eating sugar, you're eating something that probably has sugar in it.
Yes, whether you taste the sweetness or not.
Exactly.
It's there.
It's there.
Right. Yeah. And so those are my options. I do agave, I do coconut sugar, I do date syrup or date sugar, dates, raw dates. So it just depends on what I'm making. Right. And then I just change it up. Right. So I don't eat regular sugar anymore. And you know, you don't get the crash and burn, you know, that you typically get with regular sugar.
Exactly. And I was going to say, you know, of course you all can look at her show and find out some of the details, how she unpacks those things. But here today, you just mentioned or answered the question I was going to ask about, okay, well, why coconut sugar?
And some sugars have a low glycemic index. So some diabetics opt to eat the agave versus regular sugar.
Oh, that's
because it doesn't conflict with their illness.
Right. That's awesome. Well, tell me about your favorite foods. What are some of your favorites?
Oh, gosh,
Savory and sweet.
Sweets. I have a program coming up. I think I'm going to air it Saturday coming up.
Okay.
Sweetness is my weakness. And I just give some alternatives to like a sweet treat, because I love sweets. I like cookies. I like ice cream. I like cake, and all those things. But I've learned healthier ways to prepare them. Yep. So
Well, you make
anything dessert.
Yes. Well, I've tried some of your cookies before.
Okay.
It's so good.
Thank you.
That was probably, before COVID. And we had, you had, I think they were chocolate chip ones.
Okay.
And were so good. So I know it can be good without all of the junk.
It can. And and that's another thing I do is try to minimize the ingredients. So a lot of things that I cook is just a handful of ingredients.
Right.
And they're all natural. You can pronounce them. You can spell them. They grow.
Right.
Versus the things that are made in the lab.
Exactly. Well, speaking of grow, you cover gardening on your show.
Yes. I have an episode of gardening coming up.
Yeah?
Yep.
So what does your garden look like
right now it's full of herbs.
Okay.
So I got a lot of rosemary, have a bunch of, the rosemary is almost tall as me.
Oh, wow.
I have mint growing crazy, and I have sage, and I have parsley. And I'm trying to grow back my basil, and I have lettuce. So just last week I needed lettuce, and I just went out back and got some lettuce. I have a little bit of kale, and then I'm going to plant tomatoes and peppers.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So is that romaine lettuce? Because I've heard that's better than iceberg.
I have I think it's like the spring mix. It's not iceberg, but I think it's a little bit of romaine. It's like a mixture.
Yeah. So it's got more nutrients in it than some of the others. Yeah. Than the iceberg.
Yeah. Because we want things that are going to feed us on a molecular level.
Yes.
Feed our cells, really nourish us and not just eating to eat.
Right. Yeah. Well, when certain foods like lettuce, a lot of people are just like, that's just grass, all of it. No, it was healthy.
Yeah.
Healthy lettuces, and there's healthy and crunchy lettuces. I love romaine because it's crunchy.
And it holds up pretty well.
That's it.
A lot of times I'll do like a lettuce wrap if I'm traveling. So whatever filling I have, I'll put it in there and it won't wilt, so quick.
What do you put in that? Because I love this dish from certain restaurant that it's like chicken, but then I said I want to try the tofu, and then the tofu is not so great.
Okay,
that I've learned.
I don't know anything about tofu. Full disclosure.
Sure. That's why I asked you.
I don't eat tofu because I don't eat anything soy and a lot of things I don't eat.
Right.
So sometimes I am challenged with eating the same foods. How do I make them different?
Exactly.
But for my wraps, I do make like a chickpea chicken salad.
Chickpeas.
And I do have a program coming up, so y'all stay tuned.
Okay.
All things chickpeas, because chickpeas, you can do a number of things with them.
Yes.
I make crab cakes with them. I make a chicken salad. I make a tuna salad. You can make tahini butter.
Yeah.
It's just so many, not tahini butter, but hummus. Hummus with them.
Oh, yes. That's what they're made with anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can make a lot of different things with chickpeas.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come on the show and, just give some of those ways.
I'm going to look forward to that.
Good.
Looking forward to that. So obviously you cook like this for your family?
Well, it's just me now.
Okay.
And my guy.
Okay.
But my kids are all away. But when they come home, they pretty much eat what I eat.
That's
unless
wonderful.
they cook for themselves or order out.
Exactly.
Yes.
Or order out. Well, that's wonderful.
But
Everybody
I
needs
cook
to be healthy.
just about every day.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, speaking of family, we have Theatri Green, who is a part of our production family.
Yes.
And I know you have been on his show.
Yes, a number of times.
A number of times.
And thanks to him, this is how this all came about.
Oh, yes. And we've been encouraging you too now.
Yes, yes, y'all have.
We saw you. We saw, when I say we, I mean the general public, not just Access 21, but as a personal fan of what you do and how you cook and talking to you. I'm just glad that you're on this platform and on other platforms.
Yep.
And so when it comes to the production of this, because now you have your own show.
Yes, and it's a ton of work. So I'm essentially building a kitchen in an empty space.
Right.
And not only that, I got to plan out the meal.
Right.
What can I cook in the studio? I can't bake anything because I don't have an oven. So I'm operating on my hot plate and my skillet, basically. So yeah, I'm doing a lot of that.
Right.
And recently somebody asked me, are you going to bake those cookies on your show? And I say, they got so caught up. They must think I have a kitchen in here.
See?
So they're so tuned in to they forgot this is just a studio. This is not a kitchen.
Right.
So I try to bring things from home to make it have a homey appeal. So it's a big production. It's a lot to set up. It's, you got to line up the crew. You got to plan out the meals. You have to, set up the show. You have to break down the show. You have to do the show. And then I have to edit the show.
Right.
Yes.
So you're talking about, just cooking and being able to appeal to everybody. And we talked about family and talked about what you have to do in terms of putting this on. You're not just cooking at home now, you're cooking for everybody in the viewing audience.
Yes.
And so the process, tell me about the process leading up to you doing your show.
Well, of course, I have to pick a date and reserve it and make sure the studio is available. And then I have to line up the crew. Right. So I got three cameras in this studio, and then there are people in the control room positions, and then I have to make sure I have a director. Thankfully, Theatri Green is always willing to direct for me, so that's great. Right. So then after getting all that together, so that's, pre-production, and then lining up the shooting date. So I try to do 4 episodes in a, 2-session time slot. Right. And that's a challenge because now I have to figure out what can I cook in that small amount of time. Exactly. Get all the dishes together, get all the, the ingredients together, try to have it sorted out so that when I'm getting ready to change out to the next show, everything's already ready. So it's a major production. Yes. And then I have the crew coming up afterwards because they're ready to taste and eat and see. So we have to move all the food to the side. Exactly. Let the crew taste it, and then we're back. Then I have to change clothes. Because it looks like, we're on another day. Exactly. I have to change out my accessories and stuff and change out, the whatever food I'm getting ready to cook. And then we have to do the next show. Yes. And then the next, and then the next. So 4 shows in one day is what we shoot for. And then we have to break it all down. Yes. So when we have, when we're done, now I got to remove everything, put everything up, pack everything up. Right. And, clean it up like I found it and put all the props back and everything. So. Right. And then get home and put all that stuff up. And put all that stuff up. Well, you do a great job. And then edit. And then edit it. Yes. You are multitasking and have all these hats, which is awesome. Yeah. And that's what it takes when you're creative. Yeah. And when you have a good product to put out there. Yeah. People they do need to see this. And I am glad that I took a lot of the classes. So I'm familiar with the cameras. I'm familiar with the control room. I've taken editing classes. I've taken a lot of classes here. You guys offer some wonderful classes. So thank you for that, because don't be for the classes. I don't know how much of a level of comfort I would have with actually producing the show. Well, that's nice. And I think too that the fact that you can do it on location is great, because that way you have access to all of your things and all of your food and your ovens. Right. So whenever you do that, that's great too. Yes, because I will be doing some episodes in my personal kitchen at home, so I won't have to lug everything down here and set up the crew and stuff. So I look forward to that, because that offers a nice break. Absolutely. And also because of COVID, I think a lot of people have been able to think outside of the box. Right. Utilize the tools that were present before COVID, but also tools that have emerged since COVID. Right, right. And knowing that we still have things to do. Right. And part of fighting COVID and any disease is to definitely make sure that your body is built up with the foods that we're talking about. So whatever comes your way and tries to attack you, hopefully your body can fight it off. Right. Yeah. I try to incorporate herbal teas. Yes. I've included a new segment on my show, Tea Time with Tia. Yes. We're on the same page. Yes. So I've incorporated that just to give people some idea of how herbal teas can be beneficial. Sometimes they're an acquired taste. Right. Because when I first started drinking them decades ago, different herbal blends, I didn't really like it, but I love it now. And now to the point, I don't even sweeten it. I'm just drinking tea, just straight. You can get all the flavors and the floral notes and the herbal notes. So it's really nice. But they offer some great benefits, Yeah. Yeah. I was actually going to touch base on that, because talking about the production quality of your show, adding that segment in is really, really cute. Thank you. And it's
of course, still beneficial because you're saying tea time with Tia and you're on the phone and
Right.
talking, you know,
Yeah.
that little part before you come on to talk about the cooking and the
Yep.
food is really a good segue. It's a good flow.
Yes.
And, you know, you need that just as much as you need the order of cooking
Right.
and eating your body. The production,
Yep.
the order of production is good.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's going pretty well thus far.
Yes, it
'Cause I
is.
think in that day I probably filmed about 4 of those. So
boy.
I'll be incorporating those in the other shows. And they're great fillers. Like when the show is not long enough,
That's right.
I can pop something in that's still beneficial that can kind of extend the show.
Right. Well, see, people need to understand that. They need to understand the tips and understand what it is taking
Yeah.
behind the scenes
Yes.
to get this done.
Right, because we got to do it in like 28 and a half, 29 minutes.
Right.
So it's like, it's a lot of editing, a lot of stuff, you know, may need to be cut out, but, you know, we still have to fill in that time spot.
Right.
So we have to get creative sometimes and come up with, so I try to, even before the tea time, I put up little segments to show, hey, it's this amount of blends of mushrooms or, you know, just little tips that people can use.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, back to the food.
Okay.
Talking back to the food, I heard you talking about red grits. Now, I grew up on grits.
Yes.
Grits and all things Southern and carbs. And what my auntie did to help me eat the grits and eat my vegetables, she would sprinkle sugar on them.
Okay.
And of course, that was not a good habit to
Okay.
get in. Now, as an adult, I know how to eat my grits savory.
Okay.
And that's what you were cooking.
I've never had mine sweet.
Okay.
But yes, savory. And I didn't do it that way until I became vegan. So now that I'm vegan, I find different ways to mix up food that I wouldn't have ordinarily done.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, the red grits. And my aunt Teen, who's no longer with us, she put me on to that.
That's nice.
Yes.
Yeah. And to put tomato, I'd never heard of that.
Yeah, I hadn't
either.
Until she mentioned it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's good. Another layer of flavor and another, what's that? I think it's lycopene that's in tomato paste. And that's good for us.
Yes.
And then just the color of it.
The color and the taste and everything. And it's more filling too.
Right.
And because of the type of grits I eat, they'll stay with you like all day. The ancient grains will stay with you all day.
The ancient grains.
Yeah, like today I have a quinoa salad. This is a quinoa salad, and this, I mean, those ancient, they hold you.
Yes.
So a lot of times when I travel, that's a nice go-to.
Well, Tia, talk about ancient grains, because I think some people probably have heard of like the Mediterranean diet. And we know that the Mediterranean people eat an ancient way.
Okay.
And I know that everything that you cook is not Mediterranean. Some of it is,
Right.
but it's
By
all
default,
healthy.
yes.
Yeah, by default.
Yeah.
Because many people around the world knew how to eat better than we do.
Right. Or, exactly. And so the ancient grains are, you know, grains that are not so much tampered with or have not been hybridized over the centuries.
Right.
And so things like kamut, things like spelt, things like rye, God, I forgot some of the other ones. Teff. Yeah.
Yes.
So some of those are ancient grains,
Right.
you know, and the quinoa, and then they have fonio. It's so many out there. But and some of them you can eat sweet. Some of them you can eat savory.
Right.
Right. Because you can make cereals out of some of them. You know, I eat spelt flakes. I
Spelt
eat
flakes.
the rye oatmeal.
Right.
They also have the kamut type of oatmeal. So they can be prepared in different ways.
Yeah, and I heard about your loaded cereal now. I
Yes,
heard about the
yes,
loaded cereal.
yes,
Y'all
yeah.
have to watch the show to
Yeah,
know what the loaded
yes.
cereal is.
I try to do a lot of things loaded.
Yes.
And some days I only eat twice a day because I don't eat until like noon or after. So if it's going on 1 or 2 o'clock and I'm just now eating my loaded cereal,
Right.
I may not eat lunch until like 6 or
Right.
7 in the evening. And then I have an alarm set on my phone to cut off my eating at 8 p.m. so I'm not eating all night.
See, I don't do that.
Well, I
it's
don't either. That's why I
unfortunate.
have the alarm to remind me.
See, I don't
Because
set
sometimes
my
we
alarm.
get busy, you know, and
Yeah.
then it's like so late, and now
Yeah.
it's time to go to bed, and we're piling up with all the food because we should eat for what we're getting ready to do.
That's true.
So our heaviest meal should be earlier in the day when we're still running around doing
Yes.
stuff. But when we're settling down, it should be something light.
It's very
so
true.
your body can digest that stuff.
And it's very true. And I've learned that.
I'm still
years
working
ago.
on it, though.
Oh, I need prayer. Because I certainly am a night person. And getting home late, I'll eat and load up, and I
Yeah.
know I shouldn't,
Yeah.
but especially if I have not eaten the proper way during the day,
Right.
I'll say, I'm eating. I'm gonna eat.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure if it's loaded, if that's much better for you. And then I've exercised maybe after 30 minutes after I've eaten. If it's late,
Okay.
I'll exercise.
Okay. Kind of burn some of it
Burn of
off.
it all, yeah. And like you said, you should eat for what you're about
Getting ready
to do.
So if you're getting ready to go to sleep, your body doesn't need to be weighed down trying
Exactly.
to struggle so hard to digest all this we've piled in.
Exactly.
Right. I'm a work in progress because sometimes I have a late night snack, but I try to make it a piece of fruit.
Right.
Yeah.
And I have said that too. There have been times that I've been good. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to eat this little, what they call those? Mandarin oranges.
Right.
The little mandarins or the little tangelos or what have you. And I'm good. But then there's other times like, I didn't eat today, so.
Yeah.
But
and it takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And intention too. Just
And
be
intention.
intentional and, try to work on it.
Right.
And eventually you'll get there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you are a good example
Thank
and
you.
inspiration. And everybody can, like you said, take their time, be a work in progress, take the
Yes.
tips.
And set a goal that you can live by.
Right.
And make it your lifestyle. Treat it like a lifestyle. When I travel, I think about what am I going to eat while I'm away.
Right.
Most of the time I take my hot plate and skillet. I don't care
Exactly.
where I'm
That's
going.
right.
And I cook in the hotel if I have to.
Right,
Because
right.
by the time I stand in the line 30 minutes to an hour, I've already cooked up some vegetables.
There you
I'm
go.
good to go.
And-
I'm out on the beach. I'm chilling. I'm not even thinking about a restaurant.
Right.
Wonder about what they have in the food. Am I going to get a stomachache
There
or a
you
headache?
go.
No. Cook it up in the hotel or take it with me and I'm good.
And you know what's in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I treat it exactly like a lifestyle.
That is so perfect.
So that's what I encourage. I mean, I'm not encouraging everybody to take a hot plate and skillet,
Right.
but always think ahead of time, what am I going to eat for breakfast? What am I
Right.
going to eat for lunch? What am I going to eat for dinner? Am I going to eat a dinner?
That's so awesome. And we're getting to the end of the show, but I hope you can quickly maybe tell people, how do you recommend that they shop without specifically talking about one particular place, but all those things that you mentioned were unfamiliar. Those flours and
Yes.
kamut and oats.
Right.
How do
So
you
a lot
shop?
of those will not
Online?
be found in regular local grocery stores. So online, health food stores. Some places online you can order, and if you spend like maybe $49, it's free shipping, and they'll send it to you like next day or 2 days. Yep. So
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Well, before we go, I would love you to tell everyone in the audience when your show airs.
Okay, my Sankofa Table airs every second and fourth Saturday of the month, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we hope to see you at the table. So come on.
All right. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right.
All right.
You guys, thank you also for joining us. And as Tia said, join her online on this platform and on other social media platforms for more healthy eating, healthy cooking, and healthy shopping. Thank you for joining us again on CMPAC Spotlight. We'll see you the next time.